Bernie Sanders is going after Jeb Bush on some of his recent remarks on Social Security. Now let's listen to first what Jeb Bush had to say on this Sunday's Face the Nation with Bob Schieffer.
Let me ask you about Social Security. You recently said you favor raising the retirement age for Social Security. To what age?
I think it needs to be phased in over an extended period of time. I've seen ideas that are 68, for example. So people that already have this supplemental retirement system, which is a contract, I don't think we violate that. For people that are about ready to be beneficiaries of their supplemental retirement, I don't think we change that. But we need to look over the horizon and begin to phase in over an extended period of time, going from 65 to 68 or 70. And that by itself will help sustain the retirement system for anybody under the age of 40.
What about means testing?
I think it ought to be considered for sure.
You do think so?
I do so, yeah.
The translation is this: let's screw young people. Let's raise the retirement age, not for people who are getting older that are going to possibly vote for me. No, let's screw people down the line. Great. Now, Senator Sanders had to weigh in on this just recently, and he said this, quote, "At a time when more than half of the American people have less than $10,000 in savings, it will be a disaster to cut Social Security benefits by raising the retirement age," which essentially would be the case. For every year that you aren't able to retire and claim your Social Security benefits, that's money being taken out of your pocket. And that's the truth. Now, he also says it is unacceptable to ask construction workers, truck drivers, nurses, and other working class Americans to work until they're 68 to 70 years old before qualifying for full Social Security benefits. Now, here's the thing, right? You can take Social Security benefits earlier, but of course, you will never get your full benefits the earlier you take it. So you get a significant penalty for taking your benefits earlier. Now, the people that he lays out in this argument, people who are in construction, working class families, nurses and stuff, possibly home health care aides, which, by the way, do a lot of work, and their work is hard. These working class Americans, their bodies often give out around that age or sooner, and they barely scrape together and scrape by in order to, before they can claim those Social Security benefits. So that's really important. That's important to point out. Now, as I said, another angle to this, and why Bernie Sanders is right about this, well, you shouldn't cut Social Security down the line for people or by raising the retirement age. A lot of the arguments that you hear from people like Jeb Bush is that, well, it's okay to cut it because people are living longer. People are living longer, so it's going to end up costing us money. Well, the way to fix Social Security right now, the retirement fund, is to raise the cap on benefits, on taxable income. You get rid of that cap, which is about $118,000. Anything over that, you don't pay Social Security tax. You raise that cap, Social Security becomes solvent forever. Literally. But no, their idea is cut it off for people. Now, as I said, there's some data here that debunks the notion that you'll hear from conservatives that people are living longer. People are living longer, but only if you're rich. Now, this comes from Think Progress. Now, titled, "Poor People's Lives Are Getting Shorter." Literally. Now, this report says, although life expectancy has been rising for Americans as a whole, which is a good thing, the people who live in this country aren't sharing those gains equally. Wealthy people are enjoying longer lifespans than lower income Americans, according to analysis in 2014 from the Brookings Institute. Now, that gap is also possibly getting wider. As income inequality widens, so does this gap. Okay, rich people like Jeb Bush, they're living longer. And besides, people like Jeb Bush, politicians, people in the Senate and the House and stuff, in Congress, well, they're like, yeah, of course. Why don't you just work till you're 70? I could. I could do it. Yeah, because you work in Congress. One of the easiest jobs you could imagine. All you have to do is spend half your day begging people for money. That's pretty much all you do. Every once in a while, you go up like Rand Paul, give a filibuster. Although you don't even have to give a talking filibuster nowadays. That's just for grandstanding. It's just for show now. You can just say, I'm going to filibuster, and then sit your ass down. How hard is that? I mean, look at it this way. I forget his name. Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond was essentially a walking corpse during the time that he was, the last few years that he was serving in Congress. So he can do it. And so they assume, these politicians, that everybody can do it. No, they're not working real jobs. They're not working construction. They're not working in the factories. They're not working in healthcare, which is actually a very, very difficult field. There are people in healthcare that have to lift people who are over 100 pounds. Almost 200 pounds. Lift them because they can't help themselves. That has a tendency to break down a person's body pretty quick over the years. So these people need those Social Security benefits when they're 65 because their bodies ain't going to last much longer. But no, this is about cutting Social Security instead of lifting that cap on earnings so that rich people can keep more of their money. And the GOP plan essentially is like, well, why don't we just raise the retirement age, take money out of your pocket when you go to retire by raising the age, and then maybe you'll die sooner and we'll save more money. Ridiculous. Now, according to this report, by the age of 55 years old, the average American in the richest 10% of the country can expect to live another 35 years. Maybe that's where all the money for Social Security is going, to those retirees in that top 10%. But the average man in the poorest 10% has only about 24 years left. So that's about an 11-year difference. An 11-year difference. Wow, almost a decade. And the discrepancy is even starker among women. Low-income women, their lifespan has been declining over the years. The researchers conclude life expectancy is rising for those at the top of the distribution of individuals ranked by alternative measures of socioeconomic status, but it is stagnant or declining for those at the bottom. Now, this also says it's not entirely surprising that poverty is an indicator of a shorter lifespan. Economic insecurity has a long list of negative effects on physical and mental health. People living in poverty are less likely to have access to quality food and clean air, and they're more likely to struggle to afford the medical care that they need. And this report finishes out by saying, what's most concerning is the fact that poverty is getting worse, and extreme income inequality continues to widen the gulf between the richest and the poorest sectors of the country. There's compelling evidence that failing to enact policies to lift struggling Americans out of poverty will very literally shorten their lifespans, at the same time as lawmakers, like Jeb Bush and like many Republicans, attempt to raise the age to qualify for Medicare and Social Security benefits, based on this assumption that everybody seems to be living longer. Well, yeah, all your fucking friends are living longer. But you don't have any working class friends, Jeb. Jeb Bush don't have no working class friends. None of these congressmen have working class friends. I don't know if Bernie Sanders has working class friends, but I can tell you one thing. Bernie Sanders gets it. He understands. All the people that want to save Social Security, these congressmen that are advocating for expanded benefits, they understand these facts. But Jeb Bush and a lot of other Republicans don't get those facts. So if you want to save Social Security and actually protect it, you do not want to be voting for Jeb Bush or any of these Republican hacks.